There's a very interesting comment in here from one of the owners about the state of the league and that maybe the players aren't realizing where the state of the league is.
You're watching Her Hoops, where we cut through the noise and bring you the real story behind the game. And today, the warning lights are flashing across the WNBA because behind the highlight reels, behind the record-breaking rookies, and behind the carefully crafted PR spin, the league isn't as strong as players believe. It's the kind of story that should make everyone in women's basketball sit up and pay attention, because this isn't just about contracts and numbers. This is about the survival of the league itself.
About the WNBA and the CBA, we've got more news that has emerged by way of that ESPN article that has done another deep dive into the CBA situation and gotten comments from both players, but league executives, owners, etc. And we got to remember, everybody's talking about the players in all of this. The owners have their priorities too. And I think
as the WNBA and the Players Union inch closer to another CBA showdown, insiders are sounding alarm, warning that the players' demands are rising way faster than the league's revenue. You've got players talking about more pay, more charter flights, and more control. Meanwhile, executives and owners are quietly whispering something else. This league still isn't stable. We're spending millions, and we're still not making a profit. That's the uncomfortable truth no one wants to say out loud. Not on camera, not on social media, and definitely not in front of the players. Because while stars like Caitlin Clark have injected massive energy and attention into the game, one question looms over everything. Has the WNBA's growth become an illusion? One owner even told ESPN flat out, the players don't understand how fragile this league still is. And if a work stoppage or player strike actually happens next year, the so-called momentum everyone's bragging about could vanish overnight, because you can't build a sustainable league on hype alone. This is the moment the WNBA faces its biggest reality check since its creation.
There's a very interesting comment in here from one of the owners about the state of the league and that maybe the players aren't realizing where the state of the league is exactly. All right, maybe they're believing the state of the league is stronger than it really is. Again, we're talking about a league that in 2024, with Caitlin Clark, lost $40 million. Still, a league that's never turned a profit.
And the warning is crystal clear. Push too hard, too fast, and it all collapses. Stay tuned, because what's happening behind the scenes right now could reshape women's basketball for the next decade. To understand how we got here, you've got to rewind the tape. The WNBA was born out of optimism, a league backed by the NBA, created to showcase the best women's basketball players in the world. It had big dreams, bold marketing, and a promise to grow the game. But what it didn't have was profit. For nearly 3 decades, the WNBA has been powered not by financial success, but by faith, the faith of owners, sponsors, and fans who believe women's basketball should thrive.
So the players are asking for a lot of things from a league that hasn't made any money. I was talking to one of my fellow content creators the other day, and he was like, you know, one could argue the owners should get paid back for everything that they've lost over the years, for staying with this league and keeping it open. What other kind of business runs for 26, 27 years, turns no profit?
Back in 2020, when Commissioner Kathy Engelbert signed the current CBA, the league was in survival mode. They made a deal that promised higher salaries and better benefits, but it was also built on one assumption, that growth would continue. Fast forward to now, with the 2026 CBA deadline approaching, and both sides are posturing for leverage. Players want a bigger piece of the pie. Owners say there isn't enough pie to go around, and somewhere in the middle sits the league's image, painted as booming, thriving, unstoppable, while insiders admit privately it's hanging by a thread. One executive told ESPN bluntly, a work stoppage would kill this league.
The disagreements and turmoil in the WNBA all seem to wind their way back to the collective bargaining agreement negotiations. The last CBA has agreed in January of 2020 when Engelbert had been on the job for about 7 months. At the time,
It'll kill all the momentum. That's not hyperbole, that's reality. Because the truth is, while the WNBA is growing in visibility, it's not growing in profitability. And that's why this next negotiation isn't just another labor fight. It's a test of whether women's basketball can finally stand on its own 2 feet, or whether it's still running on borrowed time. Let's break down what's really at stake here, because the 2026 CBA negotiations aren't just about paychecks. They're about power. On one side, you've got the players, unified, outspoken, and more confident than ever. They've seen the rise in ticket sales, the surging TV ratings, and the mainstream spotlight that names like Caitlin Clark, Angel Reese, and A'ja Wilson have brought to the league. They believe it's their time. They're fighting for expanded revenue sharing, a bigger percentage of the league's earning.
not a bad point. Like maybe there ought to be a couple of extra percentage points going towards the owners, just as hey, we want to make our money back that we've lost all these years propping this league up. The players never talk about that. They never, ever, ever bring up the fact that this league has never turned a profit.
Guaranteed charter flights. After finally getting them in 2024, they want that protection locked in. Increased roster sizes to prevent injury overloads like the Fever's 5 season-ending injuries. Improved housing and player safety standards. It sounds fair on paper, but the owners aren't budging easily. Because here's the other side of the story. Many WNBA owners are still operating at a loss. They've poured millions into keeping the lights on, funding travel, marketing, and salaries, often without seeing a single return. Some even argue they should be reimbursed for years of losses before increasing payouts to players. And when it comes to revenue sharing, that's where things could explode. Players want a consistent, increasing percentage tied to future growth. And behind the boardroom doors, there's an undeniable fear. If this standoff turns ugly, if there's even talk of a strike, sponsors could pull back, momentum could stall, and fans could tune out. The league's biggest nightmare isn't losing money, it's losing interest, because without fans, even the strongest message from the players won't matter. Now we're entering dangerous territory, the point where optimism ends and harsh reality takes over. Behind the scenes, league executives are worried. The word being tossed around quietly in meeting rooms is fragile. That's how insiders are describing the WNBA's financial health right now.
Now, nearly 6 years later, the league and the players union must sign a new CBA for the 2026 season to take the place. The current CBA expires October 31st, but that deadline is not absolute. Both parties agreed to a 60-day extension ahead of the 2020 CBA. That's expected to happen again. Quote, I don't think it's going to get done by Halloween, one WNBA source said.
And yet, the players don't seem to buy it. From their perspective, the league has never looked better. Record jersey sales, more TV coverage, higher visibility. The proof feels obvious. But here's the contradiction that's fueling all the tension. The numbers on screen don't match the numbers on paper. Those so-called record-breaking ratings, they've been inflated by new tracking methods, shifting from traditional Nielsen ratings to streaming-inclusive metrics that make everything look bigger than it really is. Even some analysts inside ESPN have quietly admitted the viewership spike isn't as dramatic as the league makes it sound, and that's what owners are frustrated about.
But in the end, a work stoppage doesn't benefit anybody. It'll kill this league. It'll kill this league and all the momentum that they've got. Look, I don't know if you guys noticed, the momentum did not keep up. The momentum did not continue. The moment they announced Caitlin Clark was out for the rest of the year, the momentum stopped. Oh, but the ratings. You mean the ratings that are artificially inflated by a new methodology to show you the ratings? Those ratings?
The illusion that everything's booming. They're saying if this league was as healthy as Twitter says it is, we wouldn't be losing $40 million a year. But here's where things escalate. Players feel like they've heard the same excuse for decades. Be patient. It'll pay off someday. They're tired of waiting. They see stars like Caitlin Clark carrying entire TV schedules, moving merchandise, and generating headlines. And yet, their salaries are still capped at figures that pale compared to even bench players in the NBA. So now both sides are digging in. in. The union wants respect, real respect, measured in dollars and rights. The owners want restraint, a deal that protects their investments and keeps the league afloat. And the league office, led by Kathy Engelbert, is stuck in the middle, trying to convince both sides that compromise is survival. Because make no mistake, a work stoppage would be catastrophic. Sponsors would pause their campaigns, networks would shift coverage elsewhere, and all that newfound public excitement around women's basketball, gone.
And put up a wall. Quote, the players are very important, no question. One league source said, quote, but what they don't understand is this league is still not that strong. It's got a long way to go. So you screw up the momentum right now, and you are messing with your livelihoods for future generations. But the players feel like they've heard those kind of statements for too long. Quote, there's no growth without the players, Grace said. So why wouldn't we have something get done that the players are happy with? Yeah, I mean, that's true to a point, but if you're a business owner, you also want to make money. I don't know how else to say it. You also want to make money.
Start with the money. The NBA still props up much of the WNBA's financial structure. That's been true since day one. Many of the WNBA's owners either share ownership with NBA franchises or depend on shared infrastructure, marketing teams, facilities, and even payroll systems. Without that NBA safety net, this league likely wouldn't survive a single full season on its own. And yet, that dependence is exactly what players are starting to resent. They want the WNBA to stand independently, but the league's balance sheets say it's not ready. In 2024, the league finally introduced full-time charter flights for all teams. It was a major win for the players, a signal that the league was stepping into the modern era. But that luxury came at a heavy cost. Millions of dollars in travel expenses that the league couldn't offset through ticket sales or sponsorships. Now, players want that protection guaranteed in the next CBA, permanently. At the same time, stars like Breonna Turner and Chelsea Gray are demanding increased roster sizes, pointing to the Indiana Fever's injury crisis as proof the league is overworking its athletes. It's a fair argument, but adding more players means more contracts, more housing stipends, more costs, all while the league continues to lose money. Then came the moment that exposed just how dependent everything still is. Caitlin Clark's injury. The day she went down, you could feel the air leave the room, not just for Indiana, but for the entire league. TV numbers dipped, engagement slowed, headlines faded. Even ticket resale prices for certain games dropped overnight. That wasn't just bad luck, it was a warning. One superstar shouldn't carry the entire financial heartbeat of a professional sports league. But right now, that's exactly what's happening. When a single player's health can shake the confidence of sponsors, executives, and broadcasters, that's not stability. That's dependency disguised as progress. And that's the ugly truth behind the WNBA's flashy growth narrative. The brand looks stronger than ever, but the business model, it's hanging by threads. Threads woven from star power, social media hype, and a hope that fans won't lose interest. The league is moving fast, but its foundation hasn't caught up. And if this next CBA doesn't close that gap, everything the WNBA has built since Caitlin Clark's arrival could start crumbling from the inside. What's happening in the WNBA right now isn't just a business story. It's a cultural one, because the league stands at a crossroads between growth and sustainability. And the decisions made in this next CBA won't just affect paychecks. They'll shape how women's sports are perceived for decades to come. For years, the WNBA has carried a heavy burden to prove that women's basketball can not only capture attention, but maintain it. And for a while, it looked like they'd cracked the code. The rise of Caitlin Clark, Angel Reese, A'ja Wilson, and others created a new wave of excitement that even the NBA couldn't ignore. But now, that momentum is being tested. Fans are starting to see the cracks, the constant financial talk, the injuries, the tension between players and league executives. It's starting to overshadow the game itself. And if this continues, the WNBA could risk alienating the very new fans who came in because of the on-court product, not the boardroom drama. Then there's the media factor. Networks and sponsors have heavily invested in promoting women's basketball as the next big thing. But their support depends on stability. If the league enters a labor standoff, those sponsors could disappear overnight. We're not strong enough yet, so you have a generation of stars who want to push the WNBA WNBA into a bold new era and a league still trying to find stable ground. That's not just a financial debate, that's a clash of visions. If both sides can find balance, the WNBA could emerge stronger, smarter, and more respected than ever. But if pride, pressure, and poor timing collide, the league could spiral into the very chaos it's been fighting to escape since day one. The stakes couldn't be higher, not just for the WNBA, but for every young girl dreaming of playing on that stage one day. So here we are, the WNBA standing on the edge of its biggest test yet. For all the growth, all the hype, and all the powerful moments we've seen over the past 2 seasons, the question still remains, is the foundation strong enough to hold it all up? Because right now, the signs aren't comforting. You've got players demanding progress, rightfully so, after years of underpayment and second-class treatment. You've got owners and executives warning that the numbers don't add up, that one wrong move could send the league spiraling. And in the middle of it all, you've got fans, the lifeblood of this entire operation, just wanting to watch great basketball without wondering if their favorite league will still exist next season. Let's be honest, the WNBA can't afford a civil war. Not now. Not when the entire sports world is finally watching. The league says it's ready for a new era, but eras aren't built on slogans. They're built on stability. They're built on leadership that can bridge ambition and reality. And if the WNBA can't find that balance, everything it's worked for, every sold-out arena, every viral highlight, every young fan inspired by Caitlin Clark could disappear faster than it came, because hype fades, but infrastructure endures. The owners say the league isn't as strong as players think, and they might be right, but strength doesn't come from caution. It comes from unity. If both sides keep swinging from opposite corners, they'll knock each other out before anyone wins. This next CBA isn't just a business deal. It's the defining moment of the WNBA's legacy. It's the moment that decides whether the league becomes a sustainable, powerhouse brand that stands tall for decades. So, as the clock ticks toward 2026, one truth is louder than any press release or player demand. The WNBA's future depends on what happens off the court. And if this warning from inside the league doesn't wake everyone up, nothing will. Because this isn't just a negotiation, it's a reality check, and maybe the last one the WNBA will get before the whole thing breaks. You've been watching Her Hoops, where we speak truth to power and dive deeper than the box score. If you believe in the future of women's basketball, like, comment, and subscribe, because this story isn't over yet. The next chapter of the WNBA starts now.